All right, this is episode 2 of our Tales Life Story. I should do this. And we're talking to my father, Raymond DeVito. All right, so first card. What are the full names of your parents and where were they born?
All right. My father was Albert DeVito, born in Utica, New York in 1911. Yeah, that's where he was born.
Oh, right.
And his mother was not in good health. She had lost 3 children in childbirth prior to my dad being born. So they were worried about her health and being in snowy Utica, New York. And so the doctor advised them to either go back to Italy or go to California. My grandfather, who was working on the Erie Canal at the time, wasn't too happy with his role there, so he was anxious to go back. So when my dad was an infant, they went back to Italy, Carreno, Ausonia. And my dad stayed there until he was 16. And at age 16, he came to the USA because Mussolini was drafting all kind of people who weren't citizens like my dad and shouldn't have been drafted. But the American embassy sent him a letter advising him, you're not supposed to be drafted, but Mussolini won't care. You're going to be drafted.
Yeah.
So that's when he decided, or they decided to send him to the USA.
Makes sense.
And that was when he was 16 years of age. He came with his cousin, John DeVito, and he went to Utica at first, but didn't stay long because times were tough, and my dad's Uncle John made comments about, I don't have enough trouble with my family. I got this guy to take care of too. So my dad said, enough of this crap.
Right.
Went to Pittsburgh because he had a girlfriend here, a girlfriend that he had in Carreno. And it was the daughter of Arcangelo. And unfortunately, she died sometime soon thereafter, but that's why he came to Pittsburgh.
All right, well, what about your mom?
My mom was born in Dayton, Pennsylvania. Neither her mother or father.
All right, tell me her name.
Her name was Bertha, and her maiden name was Arganese, and she was one of 7 girls, and her mother died when she was 5 years of age. So she became an orphan shortly thereafter, and ended up at St. Anthony's Orphanage in Oakmont, and eventually that's where she was married to my dad.
All right, that brings us to our next question. How did your parents meet?
My parents met, as I mentioned, my mother was an orphan.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents met because my dad had a close friend that told him, we're going to go over to visit this family because they have a really good-looking woman there, and I'd like to get to know her better. The good-looking woman was my mother. she was with this family. It was the custom for them to sometimes look for a companion, and she had some people there that she was a companion for, and so they went to this family's place, and that's where my dad met my mother. Cool. They met, and I guess they got together several times at Conneaut Lake, and so on, and eventually they married.
Okay. So what then are the names of your maternal and paternal grandparents?
All right, my maternal grandparents were Antonino Arganese, and his wife was Caterina. Okay, I don't know anything about them. My grandfather died when I was an infant, so. Right. My paternal parents were Erasmo DeVito, who was the postmaster. After he went back to Italy, he became the postmaster. It was a family inherited position to the firstborn, which means if I would have been in Italy, I would have been the postmaster eventually, but I wasn't in Italy.
Right, right.
His wife was Cecilia.
Okay. Where did your grandparents live, including when they had your parents?
My grandparents lived, my grandfather, as I said, went back to Italy.
Right.
When my dad was an infant. So they were in Carreno, Ausonia.
Right.
And my mother's grandparents, or my mother's parents, she was an orphan at 5.
Yeah.
And her father lived in, he worked in a steel mill of sorts in Butler, PA. And I never met him, but he died when I was very young.
Okay.
But
so that's kind of where they were born then, I guess, or no? Because they were born in Italy.
Yeah.
All right. From what you remember, and I know it's kind of tough. I mean, do you have any way to describe your grandparents? I know your dad's dad.
My grandfather, Erasmo, came and lived with us when I was 14, 15 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
He came to visit. He really came to get a job and get Social Security, which he had for the rest of his life when he went back to Italy.
Which is crazy.
My dad was a little concerned when his father told him he wanted a job. But he got him a job sweeping out new homes and getting, in construction.
Right.
And he got his pension and he lived happily ever after, I guess.
And your mom was what, in Dayton, PA?
Dayton, PA.
Is that where she was born?
She was born in Dayton, right.
Okay.
Her father was working in a coal mine in
Butler.
Dayton. In Dayton.
Okay.
At the time.
Okay.
He later in life got out of the coal mines.
Right. Okay, very good. Well, I'm gonna stop there for today. So thank you, Pop.
All right, Pito.